year, yeah.
Are you happy with that decision of letting it go now?
What do you mean by letting it go?
You know, like letting the dictatorship go. Because you could have been a dictator for the last 20 years.
Well, no dictators last 20 years. You see what happened to they overthrow you and kill you. And you try to you see what they did to Brother Gaddafi. Yeah. No, we don't. I'm happy how it went. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What I've learned is this. Depending on whatever I'm doing, if I have to take that dictator role, I will. But every smart dictator listens to his advisors. The king is on the chessboard, you know what I mean? And all the other pieces are protecting her, but he has to guide them. He has to let the queen do what she do. She seems to have the most power, and she has to have that appearance in order for him to survive. So I agree with the democracy of things. But when I directed this movie, I was in a dictator position again. But even in a dictator position, I practice democracy. I'm saying, unless I have to put the iron hand down. Then of course, you know, it's my work. So I think that I've took the music as my love, and music is expressed so many ways, you know. Those are all the same notes, but they sound different depending on what part of the keyboard I play it on. You know what I mean? So that's how music is. That's how art is to me. Some people are stuck thinking that, you know, like, I could use one of my brothers as an example, and not disrespectful to him, but you listen to Raekwon's albums, he's still rhyming about the hustle we went through. You know what I mean? But he probably hasn't hustled in 10, 15 years, right? But he still rhymes about that because that's what he feels his music is generating. Me, I don't talk about those days. I talk about days I haven't seen. Things that's greater, things that's in front of me, things that could maybe be 20 years ahead of me. So that's what music allowed me to do. It allowed me to glimpse into the future, to reflect on the past, and to find a bit of mythology that may not even exist yet until the world make it exist. And an example of that is you watching Star Trek, and the guy's doing a flip with his communicator, and he's talking, and everybody thinks it's magic, and now we got the greatest communicators of all in our pockets, man. FaceTime, man. We can see each other right on our heads.
Science fiction couldn't even imagine that.
Exactly. They imagined it, but the viewers didn't believe it was going to ever be real. So, to me, music is that kind of power, if you really let it be. Because I know that because I started as a kid that didn't go to school for nothing that I do. But I put a lot of time in music, and it helped me express everything I do. And me, that's what I don't fear. I don't fear losing friends. I don't fear losing consumers, whatever you want to call it, fans, because that was yours is with you forever anyway. But at the same time, what about losing some and gaining others? You know what I mean? So you got to be able to grow and accept what you get. You know what I mean? In order for a rocket ship to blast out of orbit, you got to let something go. You know what I mean? So.
And then out of all the different things that you do now, all the different mediums that you work in, what do you feel the most passion for right now?
Film. Film is, to me, the accumulation of all those mediums into one. It's the place where you can have music, art, culture, creativity, colors, everything in one segment.
One second.
Yeah, 1 second. You know what I mean? You look at the intro to my film, The Man with the Iron Fist, when y'all finally get a chance to see it, you'll see just in the opening credits, you will see so much different art. You know what I mean? And it's going at 30 frames per second, you know? Fine. Film is to me the most powerful expression of art right now.
And by virtue of that, is it the most difficult to do?
Oh yeah, it's the most difficult because it's the most collaborative. You know what I mean? It's you know, an orchestra we talked about earlier, how orchestra, we had 80 pieces of musicians all playing this one tone, which is powerful. But in film, it's about 400 people. On some Hollywood films, you got 1,000 people. You know, when Ridley Scott was doing Robin Hood, he had so many cameras, they said, I think up to 13 cameras at one point, even 18, I think, at one point. And hundreds of horses and people and crews and cameramen. It must have been, for that one shot, probably took about 1,500 people, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just probably was only 30 seconds on the screen.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Your favorite Wu album or Wu solo album?
Well, I like to say my favorite, but I'll just say the ones that, you know, that really gave me a lot of, I mean, the first 36 Chambers is a masterpiece to me. Wu-Tang Forever is the second, of course. Cuba Links, for me, is my favorite solo album because what it gave was the unity of the crew, even under a solo title.
Yeah.
And also, I think I showed so many variations of hip hop, from the strings to the piano to the horn, just different sounds I kept using over, you know, in that production. I was quite proud of those two.
How about the favorite lyric you ever wrote?
That I ever wrote?
Yeah.
It hasn't been released yet. It's about 3 of them. One's called Supreme Revelation, one is called The Captivity, and so a third one, I can't remember the name of it. But it's part of this record I got called The Cure, which I never released. But those lyrics are my favorite lyrics. That's probably why I don't release them. I just keep it to myself for some reason. I gotta let it out one day, but I don't know. Maybe a book.
How about the film that had the most influence on your life?
Well, films continue to influence me over and over, different times, different genres, you know, different modes I'm in. But I'll just give you a couple of films that I think have been very influential to me. On the American side, you got The Godfather, the trilogy. Of course, you got Scarface. On the Italian side, you got the spaghetti westerns like Good, the Bad, the Ugly for a few dollars more. On the Asian side, you got 36 Chambers and 5 Deadly Venoms. The big influence was going to like, you know, I love all the black exploitation films. They really inspired me also, whether we go back to movies like Uptown Saturday Night with Sidney Poitier and Let's Do It Again. Or, you know, there's so many, I'm a film buff, so at different times, different films get me. More recently, I think some of the coolest films are actually done by my buddy Tarantino. You know, you look at a film like Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill and The Glorious Bastards, and you see what he puts into a dialogue of a film and what he adds to movies. More recently, Tarantino movies has been the films that taught me how to do what I do. Okay. Trust me, son, it's there between your ears. A day to God is 1,000 years. Men walk around with 1,000 fears. The true joy of love brings 1,000 tears. In the world of desire, there's 1,000 snares. Okay.
So what's the first part? I need to know.
When I was telling, well, there was a line before that says, looking for heaven and all that. I mean, it said, trust me, son, it's there between your ears. It's your own head, it's your own self, your own mind is where you're going to find heaven. And you're going to find this enlightenment at. Then it says the day to God is 1,000 years. This is actually from the Bible. It says a day to God is 1,000 years. Even though he made the universe, he said in 6 days, they said it was actually 1,000-year periods. And to me, when I say it, I'm saying that if you really find a true time of the day, there's some people who claim with me say that, like I run into friends who I haven't seen in a long time, and they spend one day with me and it's like 1,000 years because so much is accomplished, so much is enhanced.
Yeah.
But men walk around with 1,000 fears, and that's from Buddhism. So we have 1,000 fears, 1,000 evils we must conquer. You know what I mean? We walk around with that, not realizing that you can get rid of it in one day. The true joy of love brings 1,000 tears. The true joy, we have such joy, like I said, the birth of a child. When you see a child come out, if you have children yet. But if you ever do have a child, you watch it, when you see it come out that womb, you're going to probably frown and cry at the same time and then smile. True joy can bring tears. You know, people cry for sorrow, but tears of joy, those are the most refreshing. But in this world of desire, there's 1,000, the word is snares, S-N-A-R-E-S, meaning traps. there's many traps in the world of desire, you know, whether it's the food, whether it's the breast, whether, you know, it's the weed, whether even it's the sound of the music that keeps you lazy, whatever it is, there are many traps every day that we gotta face. That came from the song called A Day to God, right? Thanks, buddy.